Hello and welcome to It's All About You, the best show about you on the internet. I am B. Dave Walters, writer, life coach, talk radio host. This is episode number 81, Unconditional Love. So if you're going to do the suit today, change it up some. Don't think I've done the suit before. Want to dress up, kind of always keep them guessing. You can never tell with me. Might be a suit, might be a peach Cuban shirt. Even I don't know what's going to happen. Right? So I had a request for this. It's a topic that I think is near and dear to lots of our hearts. This idea of unconditional love. How you can truly love another human being with no strings attached. Which honestly some people say is not possible, but I'm here to tell you it very much is. Not only is it possible, it's absolutely vital. It's something you have to be able to do if you want to be able to experience true and lasting happiness in this world. Because I talk to a lot of people, both through my coaching clients and just people that are asking me questions or sending questions on FormSpring or sending questions to the radio, Facebook, and a lot of times it always comes down to this idea about love. I even wrote an article about unconditional love for BeliefNet. And, all those things that I just rattled off. You can find links to all of that stuff on my about.me page. So about.me, like me, /B Dave Walters. B as in brother, Dave Walters. And there's a quote that I really like from Marianne Williamson, and it's, we're not being held back by the love we didn't receive in the past. We're being held back by the love we're not giving in the present. And this person in particular is really inspirational, a very good friend of mine, somebody I'm really happy to have in my life. And they have a really, bad relationship with their mother. I was going to try and not drop the B-bomb on it to say bad, but they got a bad relationship with their mother. And a lot of times I talk about with them in regards to this situation about the fact that a lot of the mom's hostility and aggression towards my friend is due to the mom's unresolved baggage from her own past, which is probably not going to get resolved anytime in the near future because the mom can't face it. The mom can't see that that's the problem. And we've talked about these type of things lots of times. Pretty much all of our baggage, anybody's baggage, including my baggage, is rooted in unresolved issues from the past and unresolved trauma from the past and things that just happened. And there's a story that I told on the radio, but I don't think I've done a video since then. I had a birthday recently on February 18th, which was pretty recent as of the time that I'm recording this. I guess about 2 weeks ago now. And, almost 2 weeks ago. And one of the things that happened was my wife made me breakfast. They made me Star Wars pancakes, right? My little girl was helping, supervising. And finally, when the food is ready, my wife gives it to my little girl to bring to me on a tray. And she's walking towards me, and she just looks so proud. She's like, "Daddy, look!" Right? And I'm watching her come towards me, and immediately she drops it. Just food everywhere. Bacon, eggs, pancakes all over the floor, right? So my little girl stops, and she just gets this look on her face like I've never seen, and she starts crying, just unconsolably crying. Like she's shaking, she's crying so hard. I mean, just head back, shaking, right? So I run up immediately and just hug her, let her know that it's okay, it's just an accident, it's fine. And I start picking the food up off the floor and putting it back on the plate, right? I'm like, it's still good, it's good, I'm going to eat it, it's okay. And my 1-year-old is coming over and she's trying to help, comfort her sister, but I figured she was just as likely to pick up the food and start eating it too, so I'm trying to hold her back and just comfort my 4-year-old, right? Because I think my wife had an interesting observation that this is the first time in her life that she'd ever been disappointed in herself, right? I mean, she'd cried about lots of things in the past, a skinned knee or not getting a toy or throwing a tantrum, but this is the first time ever that I think she truly was aware of what she was trying to do and what she meant to happen and the fact that she messed up, right? And so I was trying to let her know that it was okay. I put all the food back on the plate. I put the that back on the tray, and I was like, "Okay, Mama's gonna help you. Mama's gonna help you bring me the food." Okay? And she's like, "Okay." So I give her the tray, and I come back over and I sit down like I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm like, Like watching TV, right? And so they come walking up with it, and of course Lexi's like, while they're walking with the tray, and they're like, "Happy birthday, Daddy," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, wow, you made me breakfast. This is awesome. It's Star Wars pancakes. Look, it's Yoda, right?" And so I make this huge big deal out of my Darth Vader pancakes, which is just rad, by the way. And let me tell you something, fellas. Hang on a second, ladies. Fellas, You know you married the right woman when you get Star Wars pancakes on your birthday, okay? So I make this huge big deal out of it. And it's funny, my wife kind of says to me to the side, she's like, I'll make you more eggs if you want. I'm like, no, these are the birthday eggs. I'm going to eat these eggs, right? And I did. And I was lucky that the floor was clean, man. Because let me tell you, based on the look on her face and how upset she was when she dropped that food, I would have ate it out of like mud and grass with like rocks in it if I had to, just to let her know that it was okay, right? And I probably told her 15 times over the course of the day that this was my best birthday ever. In fact, I said it so many times that I started to believe it. And actually, it is true. And let me tell you why and what that whole story has to do with this idea of unconditional love. Two things. One, I knew that she was that upset because within the framework of her 4-year-old mind, she was really trying to do something nice for her daddy. She's trying to do the best thing that she could conceive of because she knew this is what I would want. Making me Star Wars pancakes was her idea, right? And it was the fact that she couldn't, it was because of her that I wasn't going to experience that is what was so upsetting for her. And I knew it was because she loved me and she was trying to show me that she loved me, right? And for me, my immediate response was also from that place of love. I didn't even care about the food. I didn't have to care about eating it off the floor. But it was the fact that I wanted her to know that it was okay. And in that moment, I would have done anything to take that pain away from her. Right? But here's the thing. Like I talked about that unresolved baggage from the past. How much damage do you think it would have done to her if in that exact moment I'd been like, what is wrong with you? Why'd you drop it? You're supposed to be more careful. Or flipped out or spanked her or something like that. That in the moment of that level of disappointment and emotional vulnerability, if I had said something or my wife had said something that just made it that much worse. Because I'm here to tell you, those are the type of situations that damage you forever. And you think, oh, it's not that big of a deal. She probably wouldn't have even remembered it. And consciously, she probably wouldn't have. But way deep down inside, it would have been there. As she got older, that whenever she was in a situation that she was trying to do something nice for somebody, like a certain I'm not good enough would always be there. Maybe an anxiety she would have felt. That even she wouldn't have known where it came from consciously. And that's what happens. That we make these judgments about the world, about ourselves, and about other people in moments like that, and they stick with us forever, right? Forever, until you can see it and start clearing them away. And what it does is it starts to make things highly conditional. It starts to make love and affection and our ability to be open and genuine with other people highly conditional, right? And that's the thing, and that's what most of us are experiencing all the time, is that our love is not unconditional. Our love is highly conditional. And if you think your love is not highly conditional, look at your spouse, your significant other. Boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, right? If they slept with somebody tomorrow, would you still love them? That's conditional, right? Now, again, I'm not saying that you should be polygamous swingers. In fact, part of the thing in a relationship is you commit to one another that you're not going to do that sort of thing anymore. But I just do that to illustrate the point. You see how easily somebody else could, you lose your love for them like that. And what that really means is it's not that you love them unconditionally, not at all. It means that you love them as long as they're behaving in a certain way that you approve of. And that, my friends, is conditional love. Which is what most of us have. The closest thing that most of us will experience to truly unconditional love, or at least we're supposed to, is what we feel for our children. But the same thing, it tends to be highly conditional. Highly conditional. How many people do you know that are out there that it's their affection for their children is very much comes through the lens and the filter of their children's behavior? Now, there's usually love underneath that. There's usually an undercurrent of love that even the most critical and angry and vengeful mother deep down inside is because she wants her children to be happy in her own way. And if, a tiger busts through the window, she still would fight that tiger to save her babies most of the time. Just because 100 million years of evolution is kind of hard to overcome. But it's been warped and twisted in the way that she expresses it. And she may not be capable of expressing it in a way that is healthy. because maybe her mother had a warped and twisted way of expressing love and affection to her. That's the thing. A lot of times when we all get hung up on our parents and what they did or did not do, is you have to look at your grandparents. Did they provide them with the opportunity, the chance to have a healthy and stable life? Many times they're just living into what they were taught and what they perceived. Or sometimes they're so intent on rebelling against how their parents were, but they truly don't know how to do anything different, that they become just as bad or worse. It's kind of like Anakin Skywalker, in Star Wars, that being on the Anakin Skywalker path of self-development. They mean well, they're trying to help in their own way, and they just make things worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and drive a bigger and deeper wedge in between you all. Right? So, in terms of how to experience this state of unconditional love, then what you have to do is, by definition, start releasing your conditions. Start releasing your attachments. Give up the idea that they're anything other than what they're supposed to be. If your mom is crazy, and man, I've known some crazy moms, right? Then you just have to accept that your mom is crazy. That she's not going to be Mrs. Brady or June Cleaver. She is who she is. Your dad is who he is. And you're like, well, yeah, can't they change? But you can't predicate your life choices on whether or not they change. They're adults. They have free will. And quite frankly, they haven't changed before now. Right? I just saw a quote on Facebook right before I started broadcasting this from Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk. Actually, he's a Buddhist Christian monk, so obviously I rep him pretty hard. Thich Nhat Hanh is his name. And the quote was, to experience peace, you must be peace now. Right? You want unconditional love to come into your life, then start giving it. Start understanding that people are doing the best they can. It's one of those fundamental laws of NLP. Everybody's doing the best they can. Everybody. Right? Even though lots of people are making poor decisions and decisions that don't serve them, nobody really sits down, except for maybe somebody who's suicidal, and says, I'm going to take this action which I know is harming myself. I know that I should do absolutely better, and yet here I am going to do this self-destructive thing. Even people that are engaging in self-destructive behavior, and there are many people, that self-destructive behavior is still a cry for help, still a plea, still a call for attention. Right? Because life exists to perpetuate life. We're all really strongly hardwired to want to live and survive and to want to prosper. But it gets warped and mushed up by our attachments. It's like Buddha said, the Four Noble Truths. Life is discomfort. The root of all discomfort is attachment. And if the suffering has a root, then it has a solution, and the solution is the Eightfold Path, right? Things like right speech, right thought, right action, right livelihood, right? But the point is, you have to be that change that you want to see. If you're waiting for that other person to change, then you're just holding your breath. You have to let go of your anger. Again, like Buddha said, holding on to anger with the intent of hurting someone else is like picking up a hot coal with the intention of throwing it. You are the one who gets burned. You have to release that anger and that hostility, and you just let it go. You just put this burden down, and it doesn't mean what they did or did not do is okay. It doesn't. It just means that you are releasing your anger and negativity and toxic feelings and resentment towards them, and that's how you create the space to have a relationship that is better. But I'm going to let you in on a secret. They may or may not be able to meet you there. They may or may not be able to see through their own baggage and their own issues and their own clutter and their own emotional pollution to be able to be there and have the relationship with you that you want them to have. And that's okay. It is what it is. And that's the thing about unconditional love. You have to accept it for what it is now and who they are now. But by the same token, this also means that there's some people that can be in your heart, but they can't be in your life. This is especially in romantic relationships, but sometimes in familial relationships. There's people you can love. There's people you can love with every beat of your heart, every ounce of your being. You can love them, and yet they may be terrible for you and have no place in your life if they're hurting you constantly by their actions. Because when I say you have unconditional love for somebody, it doesn't mean that you have to let your crack addict brother back in who robs you every time. Doesn't mean that at all. Or your evil, abusive husband who gets drunk and puts his hands on you, and you should just accept that because, it is who he is. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you have to release the anger and the hostility that you feel in your heart. I am saying that. I'm saying you do have to forgive them for their actions. I am saying that, but it doesn't mean you have to forget those actions and allow them to come back and do it again and again and again. Right? You do still have to protect yourself. But what you'll find is as you start to release these ideas of how it should be, most of what you're mad at and most of what you're upset about is not what it is. You're upset about what it's not. You're upset that it's not how you felt it should be. And quite often, where did this expectation even come from? Do you know? It came from that same kid that made all those decisions about you and the world and life when you were young. Based on what you saw. It might have been TV. You see Family Matters and Step by Step and all the nuclear family shows, and Danny Tanner has the talk with DJ and the music plays, and a lot of times we get rocked into thinking that that's really what it's like. But for a lot of us, it's not like that. It's not like that at all. Right? And so you have to give up this idea that that's how it's supposed to be. Because you know how it's supposed to be? Well, it's supposed to be how it is. Because it's how it is. Now you can begin to work to create something better, but again, you cannot change another human being. All you can do is create the space and the opportunity for them to meet you and them to want to change with you. Does that make sense? But you have to change first. You have to provide the example. If every time they get upset and they yell and they raise their voice and they come from that same place of lack and scarcity and fear that they always come from, if you respond by getting angry back and yelling or shutting down and running or throwing a tantrum and acting like a little kid or doing anything other than just loving them through that, all you're doing is perpetuating it. And pointing the finger of blame, because one thing that I haven't said, and we're almost out of time here, is it takes two to tango. Right? No matter how terrible you think this other person is, I guarantee you, if I talk to them, they're going to tell me some things about you too. It never fails. It never fails. This stuff doesn't happen in a vacuum. Only in fairy tales do you have the 100% wicked stepmother and the 100% innocent child. And then the prince comes along and hopefully saves them. Right? This is life. We've all done cold things to each other. We've all said cold things to each other. And something else you have to realize is once you start to operate from this place of forgiveness and this place of acceptance, it's probably not going to change overnight. You might have had 20, 30, 40 years to form this relationship with them. And don't be surprised if they don't immediately accept the fact that you're different. It's like if you're driving down the street at 80 miles an hour and you suddenly slam on the brakes and cut the wheel. The car is still going to go forward a certain distance just based on velocity before it starts to turn. Okay? But like always, the forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. And the unconditional love is not for them, it's for you. So that you can live unburdened by the pain and anxiety and yuckiness that is holding you back right now and clouding your mind to everything that is good right now and all the wonderful things that are going on in your life. Because I guarantee you, you have more to be happy about right now than you have to be upset about. I guarantee you that for an absolute certainty. And like always, there's a lot of people in this world that would switch places with you like that and would take your problems over theirs like that. Okay? And so when you start to operate not just from this place of love, but this place of gratitude, then that is when the miracles can start to show up. When you can start to be happy for how things are and grateful for how things are, rather than unhappy about how things aren't, that is when the real miracles start to show up. Okay? But I love you unconditionally. Right? So I'm pretty much out of time. So again, you can find links to everything I've done. Articles, videos, episodes of the radio show on about.me/B Dave Walters, and you can ask me anything. You can submit any question you want. You can even ask anonymously through a website called FormSpring. Form like membership, form, spring like the season.me/B Dave Walters. You're great, and I love you. Let it go. Everything's fine. Okay, bye-bye.